Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jonathan Lucken. We want to thank you for coming out tonight for January's Executive Speaker Series. We'd like to take 2 moments to thank St. Anastasia for allowing us to come out here this evening, as well as Father Andrew Mabey for presiding over Mass. So, a little bit about our speaker. Jeannie Stone is the Vice President and Chief Administrative Officer for Trigicon. She is responsible for the strategic and functional development of human resources, HSNE, import and export compliance, contract administration, facilities, risk management, and security for the corporation. In addition to her functional and strategic areas of responsibility, Jeannie is charged with legally protecting and enhancing the strong Christian values and culture of the organization. She also happens to be my aunt, so she gets to deal with me at the holidays. So without further ado, Jeannie Stone.
He really is wonderful. Sorry about that. First, let me say how honored I am to be here tonight. And as I look around this room and see all of these young Catholic faces, it really makes me happy. My best parts of my life have been spent in my Catholic faith, and I enjoy that part of my life. So I'm going to talk tonight a little bit about myself. As you know, I am Jeannie Stone. I am the Vice President and CAO for Trigicon Incorporated. And of course, Jonathan is my nephew. And I do love him, admire him, and respect him. So hopefully tonight, Jonathan, I give you some information that will benefit you and the other people that are sitting in this room. I also want to point out, as I walked in today, I saw someone here that works at the company I do, Trigicon. Susan Ballinger, who is a member of this parish, has been with our company for 28 years. So you heard John review a small part of my resume. I promise you I'm not going to stand up here and talk about my resume all night long. But I do think it's important to talk about how my faith and my career align. As all of us know, in our Catholic faith and our professional career, both of those things are not mutually exclusive. When we bring our faith to work and we work in witness of Christ, that is ultimately our job. So today I thought about, what am I going to say tonight? And the first thing that entered my mind is, first, be bold in your faith. What does that mean? And as I thought about it in terms of being a Christian Catholic in the workplace, does it mean I walk around and announce that I'm a Christian Catholic in the workplace? Is that what I do? And I thought about that, and I said, certainly, as a leader in my company and a person responsible for HR, boy, that could really open some doors to some legal issues, right? So it could lead to a perception. So let's say I have 3 employees that all want to be promoted. I have one opportunity. I'm a Catholic girl. I'm proud of that. I have Joe, who works in my team, who's also Catholic, and I'm beating my chest about our Catholicism. And over here I have Sue and I have Mike. Mike doesn't believe in the whole God thing. I'm working on him, but we'll get there. And the other person has a completely different faith. This job opportunity comes available, and I choose Joe. Just so happens that he's Catholic, but I could really leave these other 2 people believing that the only reason that person was chosen was because of his faith. When the truth is, it's a combination of the fact that he probably has worked really hard, and he's gotten the job fairly, and it wouldn't be recognized. And we have to worry about things like Title VII, which I'll talk about a little bit later. So for me, the biggest impact to being bold in my faith has really been how I act, how I react, the support I give to others in the companies I've worked for. Action has not only affected others, but has assisted me in the career opportunities I've had. Many times those same people that I helped are the same people that rewarded me later in my career and then opened doors to me helping others. And I have a couple of examples. So I'm going to talk a little bit about, I have a Debbie story and I have a Dwayne story. So I'll start with the Debbie story. So years ago, I would say about 25 years ago, I was at work, and I walked past a person who just didn't seem like themselves. You can kind of read people sometimes, they just don't look like they're happy. So I stopped and I said, "Hey Debbie, are you okay?" And she said, "No, I'm fine." I said, "No, I can tell something's wrong. Are you okay?" And she said, "Well, no, I'm really struggling emotionally." And I said, "What is going on?" And she explained to me that her husband couldn't find a job and that no one was interested in hiring him. And I said, "What do you think the issue is?" And she said, "Well, he's deaf, and no one wants to hire somebody they can't communicate with. And no one wants to spend the money so they can communicate with him." And I didn't know how to react to that, but I said, I'm going to pray on it. I don't know what that's going to result in, Debbie, but that's where I would start. Now, keeping in mind, I'm not walking around the building telling everybody I'm going to pray, but there was my opportunity. So I did. And, God works through us, right? So I started researching, how do you hire somebody with a hearing impairment? And I reached out to the Michigan School for the Deaf, and they were wonderful. They taught me everything I needed to know. I put together a proposal and a presentation and took it to my leadership, who said, "All right, you get to do a pilot program, you get to hire one person." And I hired Debbie's husband. He was our first person in the door. And he worked so well, and he was so wonderful. And all the resources and tools that everybody said they would give me were real, and they worked. And before I knew it, I had a group of employees who were working in our organization that were just like Debbie's husband and became part of our family at that organization. And I tell you this story because about 15 years later, I got a call from Debbie. I wasn't working at the same company. I had not seen her in a really long time. And she said, "Hey, Jeannie Stone, this is Debbie. Do you remember me?" I said, "Of course I remember you." And she said, "I have gone and gotten certified to be a sign interpreter." And she said, "I'm doing an event in Flint, Michigan with a group of people from the state of Michigan. And I was wondering, would you go out there and represent someone who has hired people with disabilities?" Looked at my calendar, talked to my leadership, "Can I go do this?" They said yes. I went out there and I met with them. And when I was walking out the door, a man stopped me and he said, "Hey, can I have a minute of your time?" And he said, "I really liked what you had to say. I like the things that you've done." Again, God let me do those things, right? But he liked the things that I had done. And he said, "I am in charge of the Civil Rights Commission for people with disabilities for the state of Michigan." And he said, "Would you come to Lansing and meet with us?" And I did. And before I knew it, I was working with our governor of the state of Michigan at the time. I was working with all kinds of government officials, people much smarter than me, but allowed me to be part of things that affected so many people's lives and improved people's lives with disabilities. And we wrote new language for the state of Michigan. We wrote new language for the federal government. And the same gentleman that brought me into the group went to the federal Supreme Court and changed legislation to support people with disabilities. So when I talk about those actions, we're working through God's hands, right? So that's my Debbie story. And then I have my Dwayne story. So Dwayne was somebody that I worked with at a company, I'll just call it the German company. And, we worked a couple offices down from each other, and I found him to be a very nice person. Hardworking, calm, kind of that respectful person. And he came to my office one day and kind of stormed at the door and said, "I just came in to let you know I'm going to go punch the boss in the face and I'm quitting my job today." And he was serious. And I was blown away. Like, this can't be Dwayne. And so I quickly ran to him. I said, "No, we're going for a walk." And so I said, "Let's just go for a walk." So we went outside and we walked, the equivalent of several blocks around this building. And we came back again, and Dwayne was still ready to go back and just do exactly what he had planned to do. And I said, "You can't do that, Dwayne." He goes, "Oh, you watch me." And I said, "Come on, let's do one more walk." So we did our walk, and we got back to after the second walk, and Dwayne was still fired up. And I said, "Dwayne," I said, "can we just stop for 1 second? I said, I feel at a loss right now. I need to pray." I said, if I don't have the right words, and I was heartbroken for this very nice person who was so devastated and so distraught with his boss that he was going to make this horrible decision. And I stopped and I said, "Can you just think about something positive?" and something important to you. So I prayed, and when I was done, he looked at me and he said, I can't do this. My wife, I love my wife, I love my family, this would be so horrible for them. And I said, so you're not going in there, June? He goes, no, I'm not going to go in and do it. He said, but I am going to go in and request that I can take a few hours off today. And he did. A couple of months later, Dwayne resigned from the company and went to another company. And, I was sad to see him go because I really did like this person. And he called me about a year later. And he said, Jeannie, the company I'm working for is looking to hire somebody for a position that's right up your alley. You have to apply for this position. And I said, I'm so busy. I'm working so many hours. Dwayne, I just don't have time to take a look. He was, Jeannie, you have to take a look at this job. And so I did, and I got the job. And that is the company I currently work for, which is Trigicon Incorporated, which is a Christian-based organization. And he told me, the reason I thought of you is because the day we stopped and we prayed together, and you changed my life. So, does God not work in mysterious ways, right? All these years went by, and all of these impacts that we can have as Catholic Christians in our work environment without it being this big thing, right? So, I want to talk a little bit about Trigicon. So I am blessed to work at such a lovely company with wonderful people. It is a Christian-based organization, but we have a business to run. And I'll talk a little bit about that. I know Jonathan, my handsome nephew back there, I have some scopes out here. Our company manufactures gun scopes. And so for those of you that don't like guns, please know that our company manufactures scopes that go on our Marines, optic machine guns. They support our Secret Service, our law enforcement. And a few years ago, I don't know how many years ago was that, Susan, 6, 7 years ago now? Ted Koppel, World News Tonight, came out and said, this little business out in Wixom, Michigan is producing Jesus scopes to shoot and kill Muslims. That's what he said. I got a call, I'm watching this report, and I'm like, this isn't who this company is at all. But the interesting thing is, finally the real truth came out, which is this family-owned business, a father with 9 children, sat around a pool table one day and said, I created this really wonderful tool that's really going to help people that are going to defend this country. And we need to remember as a family that if we win and we make money, we give back. And to this day, this family gives back a large percentage of their profits back to Christian communities, to people that need more, and they still do these things. So it's interesting, the government came out and said on our optics, which I think there's a few floating around, we put a biblical reference on all of those optics. And one of them that's out there, I think it's chapter 8, verse 12, I think that's what it is. But when Jesus spoke again to the people, he said, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. And that was on all of our ACOGs that went out to our Marines. And because of this Ted Koppel report, they said it all had to come off. We took them off. And interestingly enough, parents started calling and saying, how do I buy one? Because that's what I want my Marine son or my Marine daughter to carry. And our business that we thought was going to be really impacted in a negative way, certainly with this very negative spin in the media, just took off. So it's done something for our organization and done something for me where we've been able to help more people and do wonderful things in our communities because of the success we've had as a business. So talking about Title VII, also as a government contractor, the federal government has come out and spent a lot of time with me. They spent about 18 months auditing our company. How do you legally run a business that's based on Christian values and it's still not violate Title VII? And when you really sit down, and I just tell everybody in this room, read Title VII and think about that in the terms of being a Catholic Christian. They match right up. They match right up. So when I sat with the government and I sat with them and I explained that to them, I said, how are we violating the law? Because as a Christian, everything that you have written in Title VII is exactly how we have to act. And if we're going to honor those things, those are the things we have to do. So I I do want to talk about a couple of things. I know I want to be respectful of everyone's time, and I know that you have to get up and go to work in the morning and all of those good things. But I do want to talk about a few resources that as I've been working in my career, and I know all of us experience my brother this, my cousin that, my wife this, my wife that, really bad things that happen unfortunately in life. And I want to talk about a couple of resources that for myself as a Catholic Christian, I think are important. Catholic social services. I don't know if everybody in this room has ever spent the time, I know right here we're in Southeast Michigan, so I know there's a region here, and gone out and really spent the time to see all of the resources that are available through Catholic social services. Everything, and I have had homeless employees, and I've went to Catholic social services, and they have been a blessing to me. Behavioral issues, you know, that mental health stuff that happens with sometimes in families, and it's tough to deal with. And you'll find employees, I work for a company, we offer benefits, we have EAP, but you'll find some employees just don't really want to tap into that work relation thing. And if they say that to me, would you be okay if I contacted Catholic Social Services? And most of the time, they are okay with that. But there's a huge list, like All Saints Soup Kitchen, just looking for a day to roll your sleeves up and do something to help somebody else out. There's another opportunity. And I say these things because as I've done these things in my life, I've met people, and it's just made it in my career that I didn't know were also Catholic, or I didn't know, maybe they don't believe in God, but they've watched how other people in my organization, or my boss, or somebody else that runs our leadership, or like Susan, who works with me every day at Trigicon, they act out and they want to mirror what somebody else has done because it's positive. We also have something called Corporate Chaplains of America. So in your own workplaces, how do you influence, you know, your faith in your workplace? That's a tough thing to do. And, you know, I don't know if your companies have, you know, private drop boxes so you can have suggestions, you know, where it's anonymous. Do you have an ombudsman program where you can leave a message and get a message to your leadership? Because sometimes, you know, stepping on the grenade, you really know you're going to step on a grenade, because we all know that boss over there, they really don't care what I have to think about this faith thing, right? But how do you introduce that into your company? We do have Corporate Chaplains of America. They are a non-denominational organization. And I can tell you that since they've been with Trigicon, we have found 10 employees that have found their way to Christ as a result of that, which is huge. And what a blessing for them. Corporate chaplains can go to jail and visit somebody. And yes, I'd like to say nobody that I've ever worked with have gone to jail. That's not true. You know, got a DUI, they're in jail. Mom calls and says, my son's not going to be at work today, they're in jail. And of course, they're worried and terrified for this person that they love very much because they made a bad choice. And guess what? Our corporate chaplain can go in and check on that son and have a conversation. They can go places that the rest of us can't go, into hospitals, marriage counseling, marriages, and so on. So just really a great tool. And the other tool that I think is worth all of you looking up and just researching a little bit is a group called Alliance Defending Freedom. And they are a Christian group of attorneys that I have worked with personally at my company. We filed a federal injunction against a portion of healthcare reform. And under healthcare reform, it was required for employers to provide abortive-related drugs. And it went against everything that we believed in. And I got the blessing of working with the attorneys at Alliance Defending Freedom. And really, their goal is to protect our religious freedoms, protect our free speech, marriage, family, parental rights, and the sanctity of life. And I can tell you that we were successful in getting that federal injunction. And, you know, working with the insurance companies, the Blues, I was able to get them to agree to making modifications to our plan so that we could adhere to that. So I can tell you that they will go all the way to the United States Supreme Court to do what they think they need to do to protect our religious rights and to protect our families and our future. So that's all. I know I went a little over, John. I hope that's okay. I guess I'll open it up to anyone who might have questions. Oh, here they come. John's setting me up. I know it.
So if you
413-483-7272. I apologize if we can't get to all of them, but please send out the right ones.
Does Trijicon mean anything?
You know, I'm glad Susan's here. Maybe you remember that. You know, Trijicon is a combination of the tritium that goes in our products.
Tri is the three, there's three dots, and I like tri.
Yes, we have, yeah.
Icon is Tria, icon in industry, and the J actually brings me to
She's in the marketing department. I want to point out she's very good, okay?
You ready?
Yes.
All right, so our mission at YCP is to bring Christ back to the workplace. In what tangible ways would you suggest doing that in an effort to not disturb the peace?
So I think it's a lot of what I talked about tonight. I think it's your actions. And I will say this, as a person who has hired a lot of people and terminated a lot of people, unfortunately, the one thing that I can tell you is that be prompt. Do exactly what you've been hired to do. And I think that your actions as an employee send a message to everybody around you. And the minute somebody else is hurting, be that person that steps up and helps out. People will want to know more about you, and that will help get that message out to the rest of the team.
When you were a young adult, did you have any mentors, either professionally or spiritually, that propelled you to where you are today?
I would say both. I will start with my grandmother, Vivian Chalker. She was the dearest person in the world to me, and she was a woman of faith. And I can tell you that, you know, when people have those Jehovah's Witness come to the door and knock, she let them, every one of them in. She said, I'll listen to you, but then you have to listen to me. And she was a true woman of faith and kindness, and she was the one person who told me, she went to GMI and became an engineer, one of the first women ever to graduate from GMI. And she said, I could only be a secretary. And she said, and I would do a lot of my boss's work, and I didn't get the credit. She said, work your tail off, take advantage of everything that you can get. She said, make God proud and make yourself proud.
So, a question from the audience, and I know the answer to the first part of this, but how do you maintain a work-life balance, and did you ever feel like you had to prioritize your career over other things you value?
That's a good question. You know, I think you do have to have a balance. You know, I've been blessed. I am married to a wonderful man, and you know, I think the critical elements of you have to sit down and really decide what it is you want to do in life. But once you have, make sure that you partner with somebody that understands where your goals are and has your back. And I can say that my husband, where I couldn't be and I wanted to be, has been there for me. But I don't think I've really missed out on anything. I have a beautiful family and two beautiful sons and granddaughters, and if I have to be there, I will make it a priority and I will be there.
Awesome. Well, that's all the questions we have received.
Okay.
We want to thank you again so much.
I came for the gift. No, I didn't. Thank you, everyone.
So I missed a couple of things before we got this show on the road. If you would need to partake in reconciliation, a confession, there's a confessional right there, still offering confessions. Lastly, we want to thank everyone for coming out. We're unable to do this without great folks like you, so thank you again for coming out. We'd like to thank our sponsors. I don't have the card on me, but oh, here we go. Alliance Catholic Credit Union, Lear Corporation, Clarence Technologies, DTE Energy, Penske Corporation, and Weingots. Upcoming events, February 10th, we have the Pistons games at Little Caesars Arena. Sorry, correction. The Memphis Grizzlies are coming into town, and that's the team we're going to go see. The Pistons are just going to happen to be there. Tickets are $30. It comes with food, and then at the end of the game, we can try to beat the Pistons' free throw percentage by all getting one chance to shoot a free throw at the end of the game. Our next ESS It's February 23rd at St. Fabian's in Farmington. Dana Schmidt will be speaking. She is the COO of the USPLBL Baseball League. That is, I believe, Jimmy John's field? So, who doesn't love minor league baseball, especially with the current lockout in the MLB? So lastly, we will close with prayer to St. Joseph. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, amen. St. Joseph, by the work of your hands and the sweat of your brow, you supported Jesus and Mary, and had the Son of God as your fellow worker. Teach me to work as you did, with patience and perseverance, for God and for those whom God has given me to support. Teach me to see my fellow workers the Christ who desires to be in them, that I may always be charitable and forbearing towards all. Grant me to look upon the work with the eyes of